So I thought that maybe I've been really kind of struggling lately, and I just thought that I would talk about what happened last year, because I feel like I had so many friends that reached out to me, that posted about me, that genuinely did everything they could to try and find me. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and it will mark 1 year since I broke my ankle. It was really, really hard. I broke my ankle like 6-7 days before Valentine's Day last year. And I wasn't able to get in with a regular doctor because I was out of network, and I just ended up at an urgent care. And I didn't have surgery until Valentine's Day. And then because of the medications that I was on for my foot surgery, they were counteracting my bipolar medication. And I got really manic. Like, so manic. Like, probably the worst manic episode that I've had in a really long time. And my sister, Jessie, and I got into a really big fight over the fact that I didn't want her to use my car at the time, even though I know that she had bought it for me. And I should have been grateful, and I should have just let her use it. But I was struggling, and it was the only thing I had at the time, so I didn't want anything to happen to it. And I got really upset, and I was staying with my sister at the time. So I decided to get back together with my boyfriend, fiance. Things were fine, we did really well, but I was still not doing so well. My medication just wasn't going well, and I got really, really upset. And I left his apartment, and I got in my car, and I drove around in the middle of the night, like after midnight. I was in black and purple Doc Martens, a pink mini. I was in black and purple Doc Martens, a pink mini skirt, and my grandpa's button-down shirt that I really love to wear. And I was in the car, and I was just driving, and I ended up at a gas station in Powell, around the corner from my sister's house, because when I'm in, I get kind of confused about directions. And I thought that I had gotten all the way to Chillicothe. And I ended up there, and I don't know what happened while I was there. I had all kinds of stuff in my car. I was just so manic, and all of my stuff was everywhere. And I was there. Please don't judge. This is really hard to talk about, but I'm struggling so hard because it's eating my brain alive. I wasn't wearing panties at the time, and I took off my shirt, and I was really struggling, and I just embarrassed myself so hard at this gas station in Powell. Police were called, obviously. They were called, and they showed up. And I remember being in a circle of the Powell police officers and looking right at the little camera on their chest. And all I could think about is how that thing records everything it sees. And if I wanted to do anything at that time, I was I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. And I was so manic that I just sat down on the ground and I wouldn't get up, and they had to pull me up off the ground. My shirt was unbuttoned, and they slammed me against the wall of the gas station and handcuffed me behind my back and put me in the back of an ambulance, I believe, and took me to this mental health facility. The name's escaping me right now. Like, I've been there once before. And while I was there, because I wasn't doing so well and I was so manic, like, had they just taken me to OSU, this wouldn't have happened. Had I just ended up at OSU, I would have been fine. They would have taken such good care of me. But I ended up at this place on the east side. And I've been there once before, and I've been there once before, and I hated it. Well, while I was there, when I went in, the floor was, like, all kinds of a mess. And somehow, like, a guy got into my room. And he raped me. To this day, I can still remember what it felt like. And what's even worse is that he called me Christina the entire time. When I got out of there after being in there for a little while, I still was really struggling and nothing was working. Well, my sister at the time didn't know what to do with me, so she took me back to that place. And people were so mean there. They took advantage of me. They lied to me. They wouldn't listen when I needed, like, help with medication. And I was really, really struggling. They wouldn't listen to the medications that I wanted to be on. I was like, these are the things that I've been on before. Can I be on them again? And they said no. And they gave me these stupid shots. And they were the most painful thing I've ever been through. And then when I got out, I was still struggling. Because I just couldn't get it together. And I was back at my boyfriend's house sitting upstairs. And I ended up calling OSU to schedule some kind of doctor's appointment, and I was on the phone way too long. I don't know why. I just kept talking to her. She was really nice, and I didn't know what else to do because my brain was just, I was really, really struggling to get my brain together because the medications from my leg surgery were still messing with me. All the while, all the things that I'm telling you about, I was in one Doc Marten boot, and my other leg was in my surgical boot. So it wasn't like I was wearing two boots at the gas station. I was wearing one boot and my surgical boot. Well, when I was sitting in the apartment, when I was talking on the phone with a lady and I was sitting in the apartment, they said they thought that I sounded really concerned, that I was concerned, and I was really struggling. And they ended up calling must have been the Columbus Police Department. And they came and picked me up. And I went to OSU. And genuinely, like, they were really so nice to me. OSU's never not been kind to me. They were so nice. The Columbus Police Department was so kind to me. The Powell Police Department was so kind to me. But I didn't know how to tell all of you guys about this because I was really nervous that I would be judged. Nobody ever talks to you about, like, the downsides of bipolar disorder and what can happen to you. Genuinely, last year was one of the roughest years that I've ever had. It was so hard. I'm still working on trying to save money again. I'm still, like, trying to get my credit back together. I'm still, trying to just handle my own things. But my brain is just like a mess sometimes. And what happened last year was so hard, and all I could think about was how I had all these friends that reached out to me and asked how I was doing and wanted to know what happened to me. So, this is it. The sad part is like, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. Like, I've had quite a few manic episodes in the last 10 years. Because I've been clean off of meth now for 10 years. And when I decided to get clean, because I was only on it for about 2 years at the time, when I was like 25, I decided to get clean. And I decided to get clean, and I did. But it was really hard, and I ended up in the hospital, and that is how I found I had bipolar disorder. So, last year was the roughest year that I've had since I found out I had bipolar disorder. Because that year was so rough, too. And that one was really hard as well, and I happened to be with some dingling at the time, 10 years ago, and he was the one that introduced me to meth, and I did that for 2 years, and I just really struggled, and when I decided to get clean, my ex and his friend went off on some kind of went off on some weekend trip, and I stayed home. And that night, they had left something on the counter, something that was like, it looked like you could smoke it, but I wasn't 100% sure, and I was just, the time I didn't even care, so I hid it, as the fuck does it matter? And I ended up upstairs in my room, staring out the window, and a car passed me, and they were, bouncing up and down, listening to, a Bruno Mars song. And I was just sitting there, and I was thinking about how I really didn't like this, and I somehow ended up in the bathroom taking a shower. And while I was in there for forever, and for some reason our hot water tank at the time didn't really do so well, so I literally just got scalding hot. And I was just, in there, hot water, turning all of the shampoos to the side that I could read all the ingredients on the back. And then when I got out of the shower, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I know I wrecked that entire bathroom. I tore the shelf off the wall. I tore the shower curtain down. I had pulled something out, and I also set the radio in the bathtub, I believe. But it was unplugged, so that was fine. Still very, very dangerous, though. And I ended up, I was struggling, and my ex's friend's girlfriend was there. And she had holed herself up in the master bedroom with all of the dogs, because she was scared and worried for me because I was screaming. And all I was asking for was someone to help me. That's all I wanted. I just wanted help. I didn't know what to do. I was struggling. I didn't have any friends. He alienated me from everyone. That's why I have a really hard time connecting now, because, I'm how do I make friends from the fact that, I used to be a meth addict? How do I do that? I have crippling anxiety because of it. And I just flipped out, and I didn't have any clothes on when I was screaming. And when the cops showed up, because she had to call them, this was the Reynoldsburg Police Department 10 years ago. When they showed up, they talked to me. They just talked to me. They asked me my name, but I didn't. They just talked to me. They asked me my name, but I didn't know what it was. My phone was somewhere else, and I couldn't ID myself. Nobody, and the girl that was my ex's friend's girlfriend at the time, didn't know my name. She only knew me as Red. And that's what she told the police, the Roseburg Police Department, and they escorted me out and put me in the back of a paddy wagon. They told me to sit down, but I didn't do it. And when they were driving down the freeway and took me to OSU for the first time, I was standing up the entire time they were on the freeway, and I was screaming. And when I got there, I opened the back door, and there were 6 officers there to take me into OSU. I remember walking in, and I said something to one of them, and I just told him that he was really kind, and that I saw his pain. I'm not exactly sure what I was going for, but that's what I did. They put me inside the padded room, and they took care of me. OSU took care of me. They were the most kind, understanding people, even though I was downright unruly. But I can still remember some of the funny things that was said to me, during all of that, and, the funny things that happened. So, yes, it was really, really hard. Really, really hard. But I know that I know that once I woke up the next day, and I'd gotten up and I looked around and I was in OSU, I was relieved because I was in a hospital, and I was like, everything's fine. I'm safe here. But I didn't know where I was at the time. I didn't know how I got there. And I didn't know how I was getting home. I didn't know where any of my things were. And I walked out of the room, and I was like, where am I at? What's going on? Where am I at? And I looked down, and my wrist said Jane Doe. And I remember the night before when I was really, when I was in the padded room and they were trying to calm me, they were they locked me in there and left me in there. I remember looking down at my wrist at one point and going, that says Jane Doe. That's kind of funny. And then when I woke up the next day, I was out there in the hallway after I got out of the bed, and I didn't know where I walked out into the hallway. I didn't know where I was, how I got there. I asked the desk, I was like, what's going on? How did I get here? Where am I at? They told me, and I was like, how am I getting home? What am I supposed to do? And I literally, almost had a panic attack. And I turned my head to the left, and there were, these big doors. And the doors opened, and my little sister Christina came right through the doors, and I had never been so happy to see her in my life. She was so nice to me. She's never judged me for having bipolar disorder. She doesn't make me uncomfortable. She's so sweet. And she picked me up, and she bought me McDonald's and a shake. And she took me to this hair cutting salon that was my nephew needed to have a haircut, and I literally just got to sit and look at all these pictures, and it was really nice because she calmed me down. I ended up leaving him, obviously, that guy that I was with, and I stayed with my mom, and I worked towards getting my stuff together, but I just kind of thought that maybe it's time that I share these things because they are really bothering me, and I need to be able to speak my truth. So that's what happened to me last year, and that's what happened to me 10 years ago, and that's how I got bipolar disorder when I was 25. So bipolar disorder is really, really hard to have. It's so hard. But other times, I have a really good time because I kind of have an unlimited energy bank sometimes. And I'm on medication, and it really helps me. And I see my therapist and my psychiatrist once a month. I keep up on letting them know my symptoms. That way, if things change, I can be updated. They can update it. But my only goal from this year, for 2026 and the years to come, is to hope that I don't have to go to the hospital again. But if I do, I'm very thankful to know that the police departments in the police departments of Powell, Columbus, Reynoldsburg, and OSU will always be there for me. The Doctors West Hospital will always be there for me. When I went to Doctors West Hospital, they, when I gotten out of, the hospital from last year, I had to go get my foot checked out again, because I showed up for my appointment and I was, gonna have my foot looked at, because that's where they were doing my foot stuff. When I got in there, they were so relieved to see me. She was like, "You're back. We were really worried about you. We knew you weren't doing so well the last time we saw you. And we heard about what happened at the gas station. And we're really sorry. Just know that in the future, if we're ever concerned that something's like that's going on, we'll take care of you. That won't ever happen to you again." That was the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me. And genuinely, the couple of times that I've been at Doctors West, they've been nothing but kind to me. All the nurses there, the time that I had to hang out with them for another bipolar episode, because, I have a lot of them, I got to read poems. They loved that I knew, every song, I was entertaining and I was funny, and we had a good time, and Doctors West was so sweet to me, too. So I just wanted to say thank you to the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, and the police officers, and who've always been there for me. Genuinely, I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you guys. And I'm so thankful for you. And I'm so thankful for all my friends who reached out to me and asked how I was doing. And, never stopped looking for me. That's really sweet. Thank you so much. Genuinely.